Nate Diaz vs. Conor McGregor 1. Free fight, UFC 278. Watch the complete UFC fight featuring Nate Diaz here in this video. It was Conor McGregor's first defeat in the UFC. In 2016, Nate Diaz surprised a lot of people, even though he didn't surprise himself. After stepping in for Rafael dos Anjos at the last minute and taking the fight on short notice, the veteran fighter from the UFC was able to submit Conor McGregor in the main event of UFC 196. Diaz, who had a record of 20 wins and 13 losses in mixed martial arts competition and 18-12 in the UFC, became a household name as a result of the victory, which was McGregor's first loss in the UFC. You want to know more about it? Well, let's begin. Hey guys, welcome back to MMA Guru TV. In today's video, we are going to talk about the UFC 279 free fight between Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor. So stay with us till the end of this video so you don't miss out on any of this information. And before we proceed, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell symbol so you don't miss out on any of our wonderful videos in the future. And let's get started. After their initial bout, Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather immediately agreed to a rematch, which took place at UFC 202 in the same year, and resulted in a victory for McGregor via majority decision. You can watch the first fight between McGregor and Diaz again in the video that is located above. On September 10th, Diaz will compete in the main event of UFC 279, which will take place in the Octagon. He takes on the unbeaten welterweight contender, Khamzat Chimaev. This fight will be the last one on Diaz's current UFC contract, which expires after the bout. He intends to put his free agency to the test. Diaz, who hasn't won a fight since 2019, competed for the last time in June 2021 when he was defeated by Leon Edwards via unanimous decision. Diaz hasn't won a fight since 2019, as we mentioned, and that was his third consecutive loss after those three bouts. Meanwhile, Chimaev, with an 11-0 overall record in MMA and 5-0 in the UFC, is coming into UFC 279 on the heels of having participated in one of the year's most exciting fights. His most recent outing took place in April at UFC 273, where he won a fight of the night war against former title challenger Gilbert Burns. So this was not the only fight where McGregor lost the game. He's faced a lot of defeats in the past also. But where did that loss stand in comparison to the rest of his long and illustrious career? When McGregor entered the boxing ring in 2017 to face Floyd Mayweather Jr., 4.3 million people were watching on pay-per-view, with millions more tuning in illegally. All of those people, except those who took untimely bathroom breaks, watched McGregor wilt in the 10th round under a barrage of Mayweather punches. This loss is at the bottom of our list because it was predictable to an extreme. While McGregor's unwavering confidence and crackling knockout power kept things interesting, the reality is that he was facing off against the best boxer of his generation in his first professional boxing match, and Mayweather victory was all but guaranteed. Furthermore, McGregor benefited greatly from his defeat. Not only did he earn a career-high payday for his efforts by a wide margin, but the fight also catapulted him to new and unprecedented heights of celebrity. It's difficult to call McGregor's fight with Mayweather a loss. He'd be significantly worse off if the fight hadn't happened. Artemis Sitnikov. McGregor's loss to Artemis Sitnikov of Lithuania is on the other end of the spectrum in terms of audience size and exposure than his loss to Mayweather. According to Sherdog, this defeat came via a first-round knee bar in the Irishman's third professional fight in 2008. The majority of the available footage looks like it was shot through the lid of a Pringles can. It's that bad. This loss ranks so low on our list because it occurred so early in McGregor's career. Young fighters frequently lose, especially when they're willing to take risks, as McGregor has always been. For example, while the Irish star was only 2-0 at the time of the fight, Sitnikov was a much more experienced 5-4. Accepting a challenge like that so early in your career takes guts. Joe Duffy. This defeat by arm triangle choke under the Cage Warriors banner in 2010 came early in McGregor's career in his sixth pro fight. On the surface, it appeared to be a difficult L. According to Sherdog, the official end time of the first round was 38 seconds. That said, it's understandable, not only because McGregor was still new to the sport at the time, but also because Joe Duffy turned out to be a pretty good fighter himself. In fact, Irish Joe eventually earned his own UFC contract. While his UFC career eventually ended with losses to James Vick, Mark Diakese, and Joel Alvarez, he did have some success in the octagon, defeating the likes of Mitch Clark and Reza Madadi, and even facing off against a fellow McGregor rival in Dustin Poirier. There's no shame in losing to someone like Duffy in your sixth professional fight. Khabib Nurmagomedov. McGregor's defeat to Khabib, like his defeat to Mayweather, occurred in front of a large crowd. In fact, it was the main event of UFC 229, the most successful pay-per-view in UFC history. That was enough to make it feel significant. But it was McGregor's constant pre-fight trash talk that really made this loss memorable. He talked the talk but didn't walk the walk. Instead, he was taken down repeatedly, controlled, and eventually submitted with a fourth-round neck crank. This defeat does not rank first on our list because, like McGregor's defeat to Mayweather, it was a foregone conclusion. Nurmagomedov had never been defeated before entering the fight, and he'd made the vast majority of his victories look easy. While many fans thought that McGregor could be the man to end Khabib's unbeaten streak, he ultimately went the way of the other 28 men who tried, and in retrospect, there's not much shame in that. The Irish superstar failed a task with a 0% success rate. You can't really blame him for that. Nate Diaz. This defeat, which occurred at UFC 196 in 2016, is arguably McGregor's most famous, and for good reason. The Irishman was 7-0 in the UFC at the time, with highlight reel knockouts of world-class opponents Jose Aldo and Chad Mendes still visible in the rearview mirror. It would be an understatement to say he had some wind in his sails. He was supposed to fight Rafael dos Anjos for the UFC lightweight title at UFC 196. When dos Anjos was forced to withdraw from the fight due to an injury, McGregor accepted a short-notice welterweight fight with Nate Diaz, who was viewed at the time as little more than an entertaining veteran, and certainly not the type of fighter who was likely to derail McGregor's momentum. Of course, that is ultimately what occurred. McGregor faded significantly in the second round after absorbing some big punches on the feet, and he attempted an ill-advised takedown on his submission-savvy opponent.
In his 22nd, Conor McGregor.
He was tapping to a rear naked choke moments later. McGregor suffered a setback for a variety of reasons. It snuffed out his momentum, erasing the memory of his defeats of Aldo and Mendes. It came against a fighter who had lost to far inferior opponents, a fighter who had accepted the fight on less than 2 weeks' notice. Worse, it gave the impression that the best way to beat McGregor is with a combination of cardio and grappling, a recipe that appears to still be valid today. Dustin Poirier. We knew McGregor could be out-grappled by the time he stepped into the octagon for his rematch with Poirier earlier this year. We were aware that his lack of endurance would be exposed, and as a result, it wouldn't have been surprising to see him lose via submission or even by decision after 5 exhausting rounds. However, neither of those things occurred. Instead, McGregor's lead calf was gradually chewed up by a barrage of crippling Poirier kicks before he was knocked out by a barrage of second-round punches. It was a shocking way for him to lose. While his flaws were well known, he was thought to have few rivals in the striking department, but there he was, a dazed heap beneath the Jumbotron. The Irishman was defeated in his own backyard, and to make matters worse, he had been defeated by something as simple as a calf kick. While this maneuver is relatively new to MMA, it has grown in popularity in recent years to the point where anyone who pays even passing attention to the sport's aware of its destructive, fight-changing power. The fact that McGregor was caught off guard by his attack suggests to many viewers that he'd lost his way in the gym, that he was sticking to old tricks rather than learning new ones. And in a sport like MMA where things change so quickly, complacency can be disastrous. And that's it for today's video, guys. We sincerely appreciate you for tuning in, and make sure you stay tuned to our next one by subscribing to our channel. Thanks for watching.